Welcome. I'm sure we all have heard the term or the idea or whatever that says star seed. But do you know what that is? Are we one of them? And those who are not star seeds, what are they? Or where do they come from? So many things to ask, so many things to learn today. And I hope you will be enjoying this program, this show a lot, as I'm sure I will. Healing Arts Academy, my way, where we explore things with a little twist. This is Ariel Zvi, your host. My special guest is Hateley, who is the founder and CEO of Cosmic Surgery. She herself is called Cosmic Surgeon. Don't worry, I'm going to ask her what that means. I want to know it myself. She is an energy healer and an intuitive coach. And today's subject, being a star seed. Are we one of them? Are you one of them? Welcome, Lou, and thank you for being here with me.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Love to have you here. One tiny thing that I always say is the pandemic and certain other things made us flow in a different way. And not only that, because of the times we're living today, we're together through technology. And let me tell you the truth, I love being alive today. My dear, what could you tell us about what it is a star seed? How did you find out you were one? And tell us a little bit about yourself, about your biography, please.
Yeah, sure. So I guess I've always known from a young age that I've been quite different to most people around me. I remember being at school, just feeling like I was the odd one out. I don't know if you've ever had that feeling. I always felt like I was the black sheep of the family. We hear that term a lot. And I always felt like there was something out there or somewhere out there that I belonged better than where I was in my body. It took me a long time to kind of get to grips with this 3D human reality and also get to grips with being okay in my own physical body as well. That took a long, long, long time. So don't know if anyone resonates with that. And so I think like unconsciously, I've been doing the work that I've been doing for a long, long time. Yet consciously, I would imagine I've been doing it for maybe almost a decade, where I kind of came
Right.
across this term starseed. And it really resonated for me because I'm like, woo, I'm not such a freak anymore. Like this is
Now I
how what I really
understand.
is. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm just a weird alien, and that's fine. I'm not human. So, that to me was very inviting and empowering to know that everything that I was feeling and everything I was going through was absolutely, totally, in inverted commas, normal. I think as human beings, we really enjoy this feeling of just being normal and knowing that everything is going to be okay. And I think as soon as you've got
What
into
is
that place,
normality? What is
yeah,
normality, anyways?
yeah. Exactly, but it's that feeling, isn't it? Like, oh, I'm actually what I'm feeling is that absolutely perfect.
I
That's
am
what
who I am supposed to be. Period.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think every day I remind myself, even when things are going wrong in my reality, which they do for all of us, right? We're not immune from the lessons. I just remind myself, I am perfect and everything is working out perfectly. So, such a powerful thing to remind yourself of daily. Because then things start to shift around you and you start to move through things a lot easier as well. And that's what it's about. It's not
One of,
about being immune from the lessons, right?
that's very true. One of the most important lessons that we can learn out of this, out of all this, is one has to learn how to flow.
Mm,
Easier
yeah,
said than done, but we need to learn to flow. And that's a part
yeah,
of us also, right?
yeah.
That's not
Oh, it
like,
is. It is. And I think from a young age, like we are programmed as humans to, people tell us what we should think about ourselves, what we should believe, who we are, what religion we should fall into. Even things like, we should go to school and be programmed and then get a job or, go to university and get a degree. And it's all very structured. And so it's all very structured in a way that doesn't give us the ability to just tap in and say, what am I doing for me today? You know? And I think that's
Exactly.
missing.
Getting to understand who you are and getting to understand what on earth you're doing here in this
Yeah.
planet school. And we've got movies, thank God, like Jupiter, just to mention probably one or two, that puts us to think, I might, or I probably am a seed from another planet or something. It sounds probably crazy at the beginning, but when you come to think of it, you'll understand why you're sensing, seeing, and leaving things the way you do. And that
Yeah.
is supposed to be normal to some of us, even if we are the widow or whatever. But the thing is, we have to understand we are not. We are the way that we are supposed to do. And understanding the tasks we come here to do and so forth. It is not easy at the beginning. I know that part very well. But the thing is, you need to, along the way, you can understand this. And one thing that I like is that you're helping others with this. And that takes me to the energy healer and intuitive coach. Who is, because this is inherited from what I understand, normally. This is inherited. Who did you inherit that from? Is it your mom? Is it your father? Who was different also in your family?
It's difficult to say because my mum, I was brought up in a childhood uh, place where it was very chaotic. My mum was an alcoholic, and my dad supported her in that. So I think she must have medicated herself a lot with alcohol. She had a high level of anxiety, depression. You know, she was literally living on the edge of her seat like almost every day. So it's really difficult to see who I got it from because I
Could I
didn't
tell
relate
you?
to these humans.
Could I tell you what I
Yeah,
believe?
sure.
Probably your mom. Probably she
Yeah.
was trying to cope with this reality because one normal thing that happens to us is one asks, what am I doing here? I mean, this is not natural to us to probably to say it clearly. This is not natural to us. So we try to look for means or ways to maybe to have a shortcut or something because this is hard on us.
Mm.
So if you're sensing this, if you're feeling like you do not belong, that's your normality.
Yeah.
It sounds crazy, doesn't it, at the beginning, but that's your normality. So
Mm.
try to be with yourself, spend time with yourself. And I tell this to people, and they look at you like saying, don't you know I live with myself? Yeah, I know. But the thing is, if you learn how to meditate and if you learn how to stop your head from telling you things and you try to be with yourself, this road will get easier.
Mm.
You'll be different anyways because you have come to make a difference. So
Yeah.
that part I cannot tell you much about. But the thing is, you will be able to flow with all the tools that you have come here to work with. What do you think,
Yeah.
Lou, about this? Because that's what I have learned in life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of the times when I'm working with people, it's just them getting in their own way. And I always say, you know, we live in a beautiful, infinite world. Everything is infinite in its power and its beauty. You know, we are infinite in the way that we've been made. But the most of the times, our beliefs, our monkey minds, the parts of our brain that are programmed to keep you in a comfortable zone, a zone of comfort are the things that are stopping you. So if you can tune in and learn from your own body, from your own being, what is stopping you, you can just remove those blockages easily. You know, we focus on doing the energetic work, but then also tuning in on what are the action steps to take. Because I think what I see a lot in the spiritual community is a lot of people going heavy on the energetic work and then forgetting that they've actually got to get up off the sofa and do the thing to integrate and embody in order to actually see the results and experience the results in their reality. I think you have to do the energetic where that's important and connecting, but also you have to embody it, which means actually doing the thing that's probably going to be a bit scary to start with, right? It's always a bit scary doing new stuff because we don't quite know what's going to work out, but the more you do it, the less scared you become. I think it just gets easier.
The scary part is also normal. To be scared sometimes it is normal. But we just have to flow and learn how to cope with it.
Yeah.
It is, even being nervous is normal.
Mm.
We try to say, no, this is not normal. This is not, what is normality? Meeting new people might be challenging to some. And it is okay. It is okay to be a challenge or to have a challenge in that. But the thing is, how do we cope with them? Could you please give me an idea? How do you treat people? How do you sit down and talk to them as to help them be who they are and teaching them how to cope with themselves, and particularly with things that they do not know how to cope with?
Mm. Yeah, I think emotional regulation is really, really important. And one of the things that I do teach people how to do is how to tap into their own body and how to get their own answers. So, I teach people first off how to get a yes from their body. So this really helps people who've got their own business, especially because we're always having to make decisions in business, always, every day. And I teach them how to get a yes, how to get a no, which is always just as important, no, don't do this thing, stop. And then I teach them what fear feels like in their body as well. And so those three options, as soon as you know what you're doing, it's really easy to navigate through stuff. And the other thing as well, about emotions is that normalizing that everything you're feeling is okay, but you've got to let it out. A lot of humans, especially I think as you get older, tend to kind of suppress their emotions. I remember when I went through a stage where I was starting my journey of healing, where I got a lot of anger. So me personally, I used to get a saucepan and just bang it on the floor, scream out loud, and it was just a way of me getting that energy and emotion out. Another time I remember having a client who she was in her late 60s and she'd never had the opportunity to let out some of the grief of the childhood abuse she'd been through. And she spent literally about 60 minutes on a call with me while I was holding space for her, just literally wailing and crying and letting out all this emotion. So it's really important, first of all, knowing what is your next step and what does that feel like for you and what does that look like, but then also learning how to let go of these emotions energetically, because otherwise, your body will keep the score, as they say. And the trauma that you've been through, if you don't release emotions, will create all kinds of physical and mental manifestations in your body. It just is. I've seen it.
That's the way things work. If you keep it and you retain it, it will do something to your body, whether we accept it or not. So something very important is to let go. And yes, things happened. Yes, you cannot change the past, but you can change the emotion. You can change how you see that which passed. And that's a very important tool, my dear Lou. That's very important. I cannot assure people that they're going to live up to 120 years, because I have heard that's an age that we could use this body for. But if you can live better, I don't know exactly for how long, but if you can live better, welcome. I welcome the help.
Yeah.
And when was the first time that you realized, because you were telling us that you heard about the starseed stuff and you said, hey, I belong here. But was it natural for you to accept it? Or did you have to read a little bit more? Or did you have to watch interviews? How was it in your case?
I think for me, it was like a light bulb moment. I don't know if anyone's ever had that, but where you just completely feel in your body that this is for me. that this felt like it was something that was for me. And at that point, I'd been very into feeling the feelings of yes in my body. And so I get an expansive feeling usually in my heart space when it's for me. And it just felt like a yes. And I remember looking at a few articles about it just to get some ideas. And then I just kind of parked it because I'm the kind of person, I don't like consuming too much content or watching too many videos, because I don't want to take on too many thoughts that may not be my own. So I'm the kind of person that I used to just sit with it and ask questions, what do I need? Because I think the other thing I see as well is people going too deep down the rabbit hole. You know, the amount you need to know to navigate yourself through the 3D reality is really, really very minimal, really, really very tiny. But I think our brains, again, are wired and programmed to just take everything in like a sponge. Um, Whereas I'm very much like, okay, this feels like it's for me. What do I need to do with this information? What do I need to do energetically? What do I need steps do I need to take? So I took the idea and then I just sat with it. And what can I do with this now?
And one very important thing you're mentioning now, learn, because normally we do not know, learn how to sense, how to feel things. Is this for me or is it not? Because sometimes, because we have to, we take things and we accept things and so forth. And sometimes we just have to learn how to say no, to do not allow
Yeah.
certain things to come to our lives. But decision making, you're telling us how to sense what this decision is. This is very important, and it is key in nowadays that we are starting to, how could I put it? Starting with some heavy changes in the world and so forth. It is so important to be in yourself, to be with yourself, to listen to yourself, because it is good. If you like, in my case, I need to listen to listen to many people and to talk to many people and so forth. But I do my very best in not trying to get lost without all that information. Maybe it happens to you. And the thing is, please stop and please listen to yourself and sense. What tips could you tell us? Could you give us about, before we start with the points that you have there, to stop and listen to myself? Because, my dear Lou, most of the time we don't.
Yeah, so I set up a gateway in my body actually. So you can do this yourself. So it's really, really, really very simple. And it's something that I teach my clients. So just sit with yourself when you're in a grounded position and just ask yourself, like, and just say to yourself, my name is, and then say your actual name. And then notice in your body how that feeling feels. Usually you'll get like a spark, an expansion. You'll just feel like it feels right. And then do the opposite, sit with yourself and ask yourself the question, or say, my name is, and then give a false name, and then sense that feeling in your body. And the other one that I talk about a lot with my clients is sensing fear. So a fear response will sound and feel, well, will feel exactly like a no, but usually with fear, you get lots of narrative come up. So you'll get like, oh, you're stupid, you're not ready for this, it's too expensive, I don't have time. Anything that comes as a but when you say, I'm going to do this thing, but is usually fear. So you have to, with these three options, just sit with yourself and start questioning and asking questions. And I started this process maybe about 6 years ago now. And I took it for every single decision that I made. And now it's just so ingrained in my body that I'm able to move through things really quickly. I must say that I must caveat that it doesn't mean that you're not going to get any lessons because oftentimes you'll get a yes, do this thing because you have a few more lessons, and it's the quickest route that spirit can take you down in order for you to learn these few lessons. So don't come back at me and say, Lou, you said this thing. I got a yes and then it turned into a no. It didn't. It's not, you're not a no. It's just that you had a few things to learn. And that's the other thing I like to say as well, is that if you've gone down a route that felt like a yes, but it was actually a no, it's really important to pause and just ask yourself, like, what lessons did I learn from going down that route that felt wrong? It's a really, really easy way of moving through things that feel really heavy. As soon as you can feel the lessons and almost be thankful for the people that brought those lessons and just see them as actors in your movie. You know, they're villains probably to you, but they're still actors. We've got to celebrate the actors and also the blessings as well. You know, it's polarity in the universe. We have to celebrate both because this is building your character, your tenacity, your ability to adapt. And it's really evolution of your soul in this lifetime. So whatever it is, I always say it is what it is, like with everything, you know, it is what it is.
Whenever something not that positive happens, you could call it either a teacher or an experience. Maybe we needed it, who knows? Yeah. But don't take it in a bad sense or in a bad way. Try to learn from it and try. Some people, sometimes it's our boss, sometimes it's the co-worker, whatever, may not be like too nice or may not be, who knows? They have their own issues. But the thing is, if we try to understand everything that happens to us, even if we made a mistake, let's call it experience, and let's use our head as a computer. You know, the computer was made out of our head, really, and how it works and so forth. So let's try to have a file. Instead of hatred or whatever negative emotion, try to take that into the experience file, because that's what it is, and analyze it. And very important, stop and sense, stop and feel. This could really save your life. And intuition, what a word that is. What on earth is intuition?
Intuition for me is well, I see it different to other humans. So I know a lot of humans, when they have their spirit team and their spirit guides, they see them as separate entities to themselves. I'm at this stage personally for me, and I don't want to project my views onto anyone, but I see the entities in the spirit guides and the angelic realm and all the different entities that serve me just as different aspects of myself. So when I talk about intuition, what I'm talking about is being able to tap into all the different aspects and entities of myself that live out in this timeline, other timelines, in other realms, on other universes. You know, I'm able to tap into those and get answers. That's what I see as my kind of intuition, if you like. But I know a lot of people see it as something different, but that's how I see it.
Also, which is okay.
Yeah.
But yeah. Am I getting this correctly? You're telling us that we are here, but we're somewhere else at the same time? Is that so?
Yeah, I think so. That's what I believe. I believe that well, a lot of the work that I do, I did some work recently on timelines. I see timelines as like little golden threads, and sometimes we have timelines where we're playing out alternative lives, if you like, on different timelines. And some of those timelines are effective and they feel beautiful and in alignment. And then some of those timelines are really quite old, and they're where you're kind of like stepping into a low vibration or a low frequency. And that's when you start to get in a bit of a sticky situation. So recently I did some work with Source directly to basically get rid of any of the timelines from a global universal scale that were just a bit frayed, and they allowed me to just remove those, to remove the energy of those. So for me personally, I feel like everyone should be working or living on their own divine, unique timeline where everything just feels mainly effortless and in flow, and you're not building resistance to things. And it doesn't mean to say that you're going to have like loads of money and you're successful and you've got this and you've got that. It just means, really, what I mean is you wake up every day with love in your heart, and you know you're enough, and you know you've got enough, and you feel like you're just in this beautiful rainbow bubble. That's what I see it as, like in a rainbow dome.
That's good. Why not? Why not? I believe we're the owners of our own world, and we can do much more that we can that we know of. And we are co-creators. That's the way I see each and every one of us. And yes, there are certain things that we have to cope with who we really are in the spiritual realm, to call it somehow, and on the real realm, to call it somehow, because we're here on a journey, and this is a planet school. So we have come here to learn, even though we're different, even if we sense, believe, and even if we know that we don't belong here, we're going to be here for a certain period of time. And if we're careful, I would say, if we listen to ourselves and if we stop and think and sense and feel, this journey will be easier. Even as you were telling us that you will go through certain things, but that's part of life. That's called experience, I would say. And sometimes it is very important that we pay enough attention as to know that sometimes when we elevate our vibration, some people may not remain around. And that's okay as well, right? What do you think about this?
Yeah, I agree. I think the other thing I've noticed as well is that sometimes other humans don't even physically see you, which is really quite funny. It happened to me and Lou this morning. We were in the breakfast room of a hotel we're staying in, and the person that was taking the orders just didn't physically see us. She was like, "Oh, I'm really sorry. I thought I didn't see you there." And it's really funny because you vibrate out of somebody's timeline, out of someone's frequency, if you like, but sometimes you just become invisible to other people. And it's such a weird, yet beautiful thing to witness. And sometimes a little frustrating as well, because we were a little bit hungry this morning, right? So, but
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work that well. That's very true.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But it's such a funny thing to witness, the 3D reality. Like I'm one of those people that I've always loved just watching people. I'll sit in a room and I'll just watch people and I'll notice their body language and how they react to people and how they talk. And I just love all of that stuff. I'm fascinated by it.
And we sometimes tend to forget things, but things remind us of things, which is good as well. Something else, you had some lines that you wanted to share, some ideas. Could you please begin with that? I would love to hear what you have to tell us. Okay, let me see. Somebody's microphone is open. Okay, it was open, no more.
Okay. So was that for me, Ariel, did you say? Or was that for
Yeah,
somebody else?
please. Yep, no,
Okay.
to you.
So I channeled a piece of content maybe from Spirit probably about 2 years ago now, around from about star seeds. And they gave me like 10 points to kind of explore. So I was thinking, I'll give you those 10 points and then you can decide whether you resonate with them or not. Because I think the more points you resonate with, the more likely you are to be a star seed. For me, it was a really kind of like obvious thing, but for some people, they're sort of sitting on the fence. So it's to really help you decide whether this resonates for you. So I'll kind of just go through them if that's okay, and you can add if you want.
One tiny thing, if
Okay.
you can stop, because whatever she's going to tell us, we're supposed to stop and sense and feel. Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah. So the first one is star seeds often feel homesick and have no reason why. So for me, I don't know if you've ever questioned this, but I know from a young age, oh my goodness, I gave my parents probably quite a lot of questions when I was younger. I was convinced that I was adopted. I was convinced that they weren't my parents. I'd be searching for all these answers. I'd be feeling like the odd one out. I would be feeling like the black sheep of the family. And also the other thing added to that was I had this sense that I was from another life. I'd look up to the stars and I just feel like I was belonging somewhere else, that my heart was somewhere else. Wherever I went in 3D reality, I didn't feel settled. I always felt this homesickness feeling, like I was looking for something where I could settle. And that for me was a really, really obvious sign for me of being starseed. So I don't know whether we pause now and then ask people to consider.
And one of the things that we normally feel is that we do not belong. which is telling us that, yes, we do not belong. And that's the truth. But anyways, as I said, we're here and we're here for a reason. So even though if we do not belong, we're supposed to connect with ourselves and connect with others as well. Because sometimes the sense or the feeling that we get out of that is too strong. And that puts us to think, and that makes us think, what on earth am I doing here? But anyways, we do have tasks and we have come to fulfill them, I believe. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. So number 2, I've got starseeds absorb other people's emotions. So I originally, years before I kind of came across the term starseed, really resonated with the term empath. And so through the work that I did, I kind of loosened the grip on the term empath because I realized that a lot of the characteristics of being an empath were, for me personally, were just trauma wounds coming up for clearing. So there weren't things that I could relate to, for example, but I find that a lot of starseeds are very highly attuned into people's moods. So either good and bad, unfortunately. And I hate using words like that, good and bad, because, it's all experience, as we've said. But sometimes you can feel everything to the real extreme. And for me, that manifested as anxiety from a really, really young age. I had anxiety for like over 30 years, and I just assumed that everybody had anxiety because, you do when you're a child. And I think the thing with emotions is that we can, when you get to a place where you've gone through your healing journey, you can get to a place where you can observe people's emotions and enjoy them, or observe their emotions when they're being triggered, but not absorb them. But I found like when I was a starseed at the early end of my healing journey, I would absorb all these emotions. And that for me was quite a telltale sign when I connected with this term of starseed that related to me, definitely.
So if you're hypersensitive, welcome to the family.
Yeah.
What else could I say? That has to do, and that is a part of. So I hope you're resonating with this, and probably you're one of us. Is the number 3, please?
Yeah, so number 3 is starseeds absorb other people's energy. So again, you might be in a situation where you walk into a room and you can tell instantly whether you like somebody and you're drawn to them like a magnet, or you're repelled from them. And what we do as human beings is we tend to second guess ourselves, or we tend to give someone second chances. Where actually, if you're feeling right, I'm sensing a no, I don't want to get to know you, we need to start listening to our bodies, and we need to start realizing that, right, that is like a warning light in a car. It's telling me that I am not interested in getting to know this person. And usually through experience, you'll find 6 months down the line that, your body was right. But it's that kind of trigger, like, and the other thing I found as well is that this process can often leave you feel quite drained. So what I felt like at the start of my journey of discovering I was a starseed is that if I was in a group of people or in a crowd of people, I would feel very drained because I felt like they were draining my energy. So that was, again, was a really good sign for me.
And something very important, pay attention to yourself, please. But one tiny thing, when you sense that no, you don't have to necessarily be right next to the person. Because remember our aura, we're talking about meters, and we have an aura specialist here. Welcome, Jose Luis. The thing is, when we sense that, pay attention to yourself. It's a warning. It's a warning, so please be careful. Go ahead, please.
It is. Okay, so number 4 is many starseeds often cannot relate to other humans, and small talk chat is a no-go. So I really struggle with this. If you come to me and you want to talk about the weather, I will probably not have many conversations with you. If you want to come and talk to me about TV shows or what to wear or shoes or, some things like that that are really material, I won't really have much to offer, and I probably will sneak out the conversation very quickly. I don't like going to the hairdressers. I haven't been to the hairdressers in the conventional sense for, oh my God, a long, 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 long time. I avoid it like the plague. I do my own hair. And I think for me, that notion of just talking about small talk makes me want to like explode into 1,000 bats and run away. So I think you get to the stage on your journey where you just want to be around people talking about like cosmic things and the universe and energy, and you just feel so lit up. And again, like Ariel was saying, you have to notice in your body what's lighting you up and what's dampening your flame, because you just got to start following the path of least resistance.
Even if it is a person, or particularly
Yeah.
if it is a person who's doing that to you.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Oh,
but just
totally.
had to say it.
Yeah. And you also find that you might be a magnet to certain types of people as well. And that again is the universe giving you an opportunity to set boundaries, right? To just say, no, I'm not interested. Thank you, but no, And I think as humans, we are sometimes over polite and we over accept. Whereas actually what
You're
we need
telling
to
me.
do.
You're telling
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
But we should just be okay with saying, no, I'm not interested, and not worrying about what the other person is going to do or react or say. Because that's for them to deal with, not for you.
Exactly. So please learn how to stop, first of all. It is not easy. To me, it has not been easy. So that's why I'm telling you this. But the thing is, learn how to stop, sense, and feel what your body's telling you about something. Please be careful. Be very careful with that. This is very, very extremely important, as I'm telling you. Please go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, my team just dropped in something then. A lot of us have patterns in numbers. So my number is number 3, right? So I will know that if something negative down to experience happens in my reality, usually it'll be followed by 2 other things. And I also have the same when I have some amazing news, it'll be followed by 3. It's like this beautiful way, hermetics of just following patterns. And it's like getting to appreciate what your patterns are and how you are reacting and what's going to happen next, because I find the more that you can preempt what's going to happen and the more ready you are for something else to happen, you can go, oh, okay, that's it, I'm done now. Next.
As I'm telling you, you have to learn how to stop and pay attention to yourself and go back to different situations in your life and try to learn what are your patterns and what can you do with them. That's really important.
Yeah, definitely. So number 5 is starseeds have many gifts that cannot be put into human words. Okay, and these gifts are going to be so unique to you, and you probably try to explain your gifts in relation to human words terms like clairescence, which is hearing voices, clairvoyance, which is seeing visions, clairsentience, which is recognizing feelings, and claircognizance, which is a sense of knowing, to name a few. I mean, there are so many. But usually I find with these like Claire terms, you find the description of them very, very limiting. As as often starseeds have so many gifts that you aren't even able to put into human words. And I used to do this as a young child, a story about me, I would know from about the age of 5. I was able to look onto future timelines and determine with almost 100% success rate whether something was going to happen or not. And I just assumed that all children could do this. So, if my parents said, oh, we're going to go do this fun thing, or we're going to go to a party, I would know, 9 times out of 10, I'm talking about whether it would go ahead or not. And so I just assumed everybody could do that. Your greatest gifts and your unique gifts and talents and spiritual connections are just things that you do second nature. And I'm just telling you, don't put a name to that, because it is what it is. And the more that you can keep stepping into, right, I'm going to start practicing and honing this skill without giving it a name, because it doesn't need a name, the more powerful that gift will become.
What advice could you give parents? Because it must be very scary if a son of mine or a daughter of mine comes and tells me I'm hearing voices. I'm hearing voices. I would go crazy probably if I do not understand this different world that it is around us or within us. What advice could you give parents if they do not know how to do or deal with probably even dreams that our children are having? What could you tell them?
Yeah. I guess it's difficult to I mean I can tell you what I do because I've got children and they're 7 and 5 and they're very, very gifted and very spiritual. The one has Fey energy and the other one has dragon energy. So they're very, very different from a soul point of view, right? And how they see the world. But from a young age, from the age of 2, I've been guiding them spiritually. So for example, we will talk about dreams as if they are just normal, which they are. I'll say to them, "Oh, what happened in dream space last night?" And they will tell me. I will give them the opportunity to make decisions. If they tell me that they can see something or sense something, or if they don't want to do something because they're sensing that energy from a person, I will just accept that. There are no situations where I will tell them, right, this is what you need to do, unless it's something where they may get in trouble or they may get hurt or if there's a safety issue. Usually my children are just the boss of the house with without being so overbearing, but I allow them a lot of freedom. So I think the advice that I would give is the children that come into this world are our greatest teachers. They haven't got all the burdens of trauma that we have. And so they are like fresh souls. They haven't gone through this human experience yet. So the more that you can start looking at them, get into their level and asking them, what is it you want to do today? And following them, honestly, life becomes so effortless when we connect with our childlike selves. So it's just giving them, it's just allowing yourself to listen to them because they are such beautiful beings that haven't been through all the trauma and the heartache that we have.
So once again, you'll have to stop and pay attention.
Yeah.
Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. It sounds hard and it sounds sometimes impossible, but it could change. If we take time to stop and connect, we were talking about the Avatar, the movie, and so forth at the beginning, if I'm not wrong. We have to learn how to connect first with ourselves and then with those who are around us. And by all means, please look for help if you listen that your child or maybe a grandchild or somebody is like having dreams or listening to voices and so forth. I hold nothing against psychiatrists or anything, but they need some other kind of help. That's why I brought Lou here to talk about certain stuff that it is not like common, but that we need to know about. Okay, so it is their normality. Okay, and we're getting souls or being open to certain things that we maybe were not open to or that we closed the door to, because I have found, my dear Lou, many people whose mom or father had gifts, but they closed it. They were afraid, or the family were telling them that they were nuts. Crazy. I mean, you're hearing voices. Oh, yeah, yeah. So, so they didn't have the guidance they could have had. So please look for help if you're experiencing something like this. Please do, please do, please do. Okay, let's jump to number 6, please.
Yeah, my team just want to mention one thing about being a parent as well before we go to number 6. So they want to just remind you that your children always follow you as an example in your actions. They always follow what you do rather than what you say. So whenever you're navigating through this human reality, you have to have complete integrity when you have children. This is what I say, and this is also what I do, and these two things need to marry up and be aligned. Otherwise, they will not follow what you say. They will follow what you do. And then the children get the blame for being naughty children, but actually they're just following their example of their parents, which is a really, really stingy lesson to learn, actually, because you have to take a lot of accountability and self-responsibility. And I've been through that, and I continue to go through that. But it's a really important point, that is. Thank you, team.
And there's something very interesting that we do something, we tell them to do it otherwise. They do it the way they do it, and then we come and ask them, why did you do that? Ay, ay, ay. Shouldn't be asking those questions, my dear family. Okay, number 6, please.
Yes, starseeds feel like they need alone time. So you can find being around humans who engage in a lot of talk, small talk, or very surface level stuff to be very, very draining on energy. But you'll find that when you're around like starseeds and you're talking about cosmic items and things like that, it makes you feel really alive, engaged, and connected. So again, it's just about, am I engaging in this conversation, or do I have this friend that's draining my energy, and am I being polite for their sake, or am I doing things and engaging in things that I really, really love to do? And this for me was a big one. Like I wrote a book a number of years back because I was in a place where I was really anxious and depressed, and I had to get myself out of that. And one of the things that I did within this was come up with a system of doing the action of having happy tasks every single day. So one of the things that I do, and even now I advise my clients to do, is write a list of everything that you love to do just for you, and then start with 5 minutes a day and just do one thing a day that you love to do. And then obviously as you get used to doing these beautiful things for yourself, filling up your own cup and raising your frequency and your vibration, you can then start adding more things, and you can add in more time. But it's such a beautiful exercise to start fulfilling your own journey and your own life here.
Make yourself happy with tiny things. That's very important. I do believe in reincarnation and so forth. So what I normally tell people is enjoy this incarnation. Forget about the past, forget about the future. Enjoy this one. So once again, let's try to make this stop thing an exercise maybe, and let's try to stop more, to pay more attention. If your child comes to you and tells you things that you go like, what? Pay more attention. There are teachers. Absolutely, I have no doubt about it. What's number 7, please?
Okay, so starseeds can become overwhelmed in intimate relationships. So I'm talking about in like loving relationships, not necessarily in friendships and things like that. But usually we are so used to being on our own company to recharge our batteries that sometimes you can find too much togetherness in a partnership to be difficult. So you may avoid those intimate relationships. You most also certainly have the ability to feel someone else's trauma and ego. And so this level of closeness and intimacy in a relationship can be really, really overwhelming to you. You're also able to read people on such a deep level that at times it becomes really, really draining to listen to what someone says, which feels like it's a million miles away from what they actually mean, because you can sense what they should have said to what they actually said. And I think sometimes, especially when you have two people both working through their own trauma, it can feel very, very, very draining. But we have to remember that it's like 3 bubbles. We have our relationship, we have their relationship, and we have the bit in the middle that overcrosses. And the bit in the middle that overlaps is where you find the joy and the fun, while still retaining your own little bubble to do your own things for you. And that's really, really important.
And something else, we do know when we are being lied to.
Yeah.
Whether people believe it or not, we sense it, we know it. So somebody could come with a show or something, or pretending whatever, and we sense it. So let me show you, let me read you what I just wrote here. If you're not feeling well with someone, pay attention to yourself. Your soul knows, even if your head does not, or even if your head is not understanding. It is an alarm. It is a warning sign. So if you do not feel too happy around somebody, just pay attention to yourself and don't do things to please others when they are not, when you're not going to how can I put it? Sometimes we're over polite, as you say, and sometimes we just, without being unpolite, we could say no, or we could get out of some situation that someone else is trying to get us into. So please be careful with that, because later on we feel bad, but we could have said no on time. And yes, what you're feeling is important. And yes, even if it doesn't sound too good, what you're feeling is more important to what others are feeling. So put whatever you're feeling first. And if you say, or if you feel that somebody do not belong with you, please think 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times before you start sticking with that person, because that person might be just taking or draining you from your energy, to say the least. So please pay attention to yourself. Okay, I'm back. Back with you.
Okay, so number 8, star seeds are often target for energy vampires. So this is a really, really key point, and something that I had to learn through as well. So as a star seed, you were brought here really to experience the human reality, with the task of remembering who you really are and the gifts that you have, so that you can guide other star seeds who are also going through this awakening and remembering process. Therefore, usually you're like a natural beacon of light, and naturally you like to help other people. So your kindness and sensitivity naturally makes you an easy mark for energy vampires. And usually I find that people who relate to this are usually people that don't or haven't learned how to set boundaries. And so energy vampires, when I'm talking about energy vampires, I mean people who we call in human terms narcissists, or humans who need that constant care or validation. They are attracted to you, they're attracted to everybody, but because usually you haven't learned how to create boundaries, that person doesn't exit, so they stay along a lot longer than they should. And so that person who we call an energy vampire is someone who usually knows how to drain your energy. And also, of course, we have also humans who are energy vampires, and we also have entities, attachments, siphons, taps, these entities that live amongst us that tap into our energy as well, if we are not claiming our body and our being as being sovereign. So that's really, really, really important.
Boundary setting, could you please elaborate a little bit more on that? And you've said so many things that are important that we might be able to elaborate on that on another program for sure. But boundary setting, how come it is so difficult for us to set boundaries? Why?
I think it's because a lot of us come into these bodies with codependency wounds, or wounds that we've developed as codependency wounds when we come through and we've lived a childhood experience. So what happens is, when you've got codependency wounds, oftentimes you become a people pleaser. And that's because you were brought up in a situation where you're in either chaotic environment, or your parents, whatever you did, your caregivers or your parents, whatever you did wasn't good enough. So you feel like you really need to keep raising the bar and over help and over please people in order for them to like you, because that's what you learn at a young age. And boundary setting is really a way of you over pleasing somebody because you don't know how to say no. And about setting a boundary is really just no, I'm not interested in doing that. I'm not going to do that. And so many humans don't know how to do that. I mean, I only learned about how to set boundaries maybe about 4 years ago. It was something in my own childhood I had no clue about. I assumed that if someone asked you to do something, it was in your duty to do it, even if and even when it didn't feel good to you. That's what I learned from a young age.
Or I will not do that anymore. Okay, that's really important. I will not do that anymore. Because yes, whatever you think, feel, or sense counts. And that is important. And even we have to learn that sometimes we don't have to spend our life, our energy, our ideas with people who are not paying attention to us. That's also important. That's part of your life. Your energy is very important. So if you're with somebody who's not really just not paying attention to you, stop paying attention to that person. That person, I'm sorry, but I'm going to say it, that person is not worth you.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's really important to take into consideration. And we're not important to everybody. We might be important to some, only to some. Okay. Work with them. Let the rest go.
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
If you have anything
And
to say about this before we jump to the other number, to the other sentence, please go ahead.
there has to be a reciprocity, I can't say that word, but there has to be an equal exchange in all
Reciprocity,
relationships.
absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Sure, my pleasure.
You said
Absolutely.
better than me, but it has to be equal, you know, like you said, it has to be equal. You have to give and take, otherwise that your cup is going to get very drained. I personally
Absolutely.
only give to other people when my cup is overflowing. If I ever get to a stage where I need to replenish or I need to recharge, I will say no to everybody, even if it's on the last day and we were meant to meet up. I'll say, look, I'm really sorry, this doesn't feel like it's in alignment with me. I'm going to have to decline. You know, you let people down sometimes. That's the thing, but be okay with that because you're not letting yourself down.
But the thing is, it's very important if you understand, if somebody else says, I'm sorry, there is no reciprocity here. So I'm sorry. So, and as I said earlier, when we start doing things differently and we raise our vibration, what happens? Some others will not remain around you. And you may not remain around others. And that's not bad. That's good. That's good. Because you need to see how important your energy, your thoughts, your ideas, your time is. So if somebody's not paying attention to you, stop paying attention to that person. I mean, it's not being bad. And that person may not be too happy, who knows? But whatever. The thing is, learn how to be yourself and learn how to be at peace with yourself. There is nothing more important than that. So please pay close attention to that always. Always. I go back to you, my dear Lou.
Okay, so number 9, starseeds find they love to be around nature and animals. So I can definitely relate to this one. I love to be around animals. If I'm outside and I'm walking around, it's usually the dogs I will go up to and I will speak to first. I'll never go up and engage conversation with humans. I will always make friends with dogs wherever I go. I'll always go up and stroke the dogs and say hello and stuff. So, and you'll also probably find that being in nature really helps you as well. You know, I absolutely love looking at trees. I love connecting to elements. I love hugging trees. I love being by the seaside, by the ocean. I love being around water. You know, all these things just make me feel alive. I never feel alive when I have that around other humans. It's always around plants or nature or animals.
That's very true. I love dogs, and we have had a dog for around 9 years, and that was my first dog experience. Boy, have I learned from it. It's a lady, by the way. It's a lady. And oh, have I learned from her. Oh, boy, yeah. You cannot imagine. That's why I believe it is wonderful. You're a parent and you can have some kind of an animal for the child, for your children. That's wonderful. I mean, they learn, and one of the most important things I would say, my dear Lou, is that they could learn how to connect with them because they do it naturally. And that could change their life. So yeah, if you have a special child, just an idea or recommendation, try to find him or her a dog or a cat or an animal for them that helps them a lot, believe me. Okay, shall we jump to number 9, please?
Yeah, we're on number 10 actually now. So
Oh, yeah.
number 10,
Wonderful.
yeah. It's the last question. So starseeds always have a lot of questions about who they are, really are, and where they're from. So you may be watching this and you may have a lot of questions and you always want to know. I see this a lot in the online community on Facebook. You know, you want to know whether you're from Sirius, whether you're Pleiades, whether you're Arcturus, Andromeda, Lyrael, Lemurian, Atlantean, you know, all these different names that we see banded around. But the truth is, it really doesn't matter where you are from or who you really are or where your soul originates from. You could spend literally this whole lifetime digging into that soul origin stuff. Because again, as and when you seek to have a label, you know, I came from such and such, or I am such and such, you are creating a limitation on your capacity to expand as a being. You are saying that you are just one thing. Or actually, in matter of fact, you are literally in everything. You know, whenever anyone says, where are you from, what's your soul origin, I usually just say I'm a multi-dimensional being. You know, I'm in absolutely everything. And I think, if anything, if you can take this away, is that it doesn't really matter about your soul origin. It really doesn't. If you can step into this feeling and this knowing that I am a limitless multi-dimensional being, you are literally like, I don't know, you will expand so much. My voice is going funny now. It sounds robotic. but, but if you can step into that power, you can just tap into those lives without limiting yourself by giving yourself a label.
Labels, labels, labels. Let's get rid of them. We're far way more than we can understand, because sometimes our head is, you know, but our head should not reign. That's for sure. We have to use the clutch between our brain and who we really are, because brain is wonderful. I love brains, but the thing is, it shouldn't reign. That's the very true. Anyways, my dear, how can we reach you? I don't want to take you here a little bit long. I need your throat to rest, because that's a tool like mine also. How could we reach you?
So I have a website. It's www.thecosmicsurgery.com, or I also have a Facebook group as well, which is called the Cosmic Portal. Those are the two places that you can really reach me. Or I have my personal profile, which is Louise Hateley, which is Hateley. People always spell that wrong, so I always spell it for you. And those are the
Don't
three
worry,
places
I'm
that
going to ask you to send me the whole information, so you will be able to just click, because we're a click, even though we're so far, we're a click away from her. I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
No, that's cool. I'm a clicker as well, so I understand anything to make things easier. But yeah, I'm one of those beings that I keep on the download as much as I can, but you can reach me in those places if you want to have a chat, or if you've got any questions or anything like that. Oh, the other thing, thank you, team. Sorry. They want to mention that I'm running a event on the 18th of September, and it's called The Great Remembering. And it's really an event to give you a little bit of a taster of things that will help you on your journey here. Will give you information and a tool to clear your energy, to remove siphons, taps, and also how to tap into your own body for your own decisions and your own answers. Really very powerful tools that I was given a long time ago, and I want to start sharing them. So if that's something that you might be interested in, then of course reach out and we'll share the links and whatnot if that's a resonance with you. It's totally free. Yeah, thanks, team. They remind me what I should say. It's quite funny.
Oh, they are wonderful. No, they are wonderful. So that would be Monday the 18th, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Let me remind you, if I didn't say that at the beginning, I don't recall. Sorry. She's from England, so let's think about the time difference when you do that. And I'm going to ask her also, don't worry, I'm going to ask her also to give me the whole information so I can provide it to you, of course. My dear, it has been a pleasure, and I do hope we will be doing more shows like this. There's so many more things, and I have a list of things that I want to discuss with you. So
Okay.
please forget to send me your information as well, so I can post it in YouTube, so people can just go click and ask. And of course, if you want to talk to her because you need to discuss things with her, or if you have more answers then questions, then answers. Let us know also if you like this kind of programs. Let us know also so we can have more. What else could we do here in this planet Earth school but learn? So thank you so very much, Lou and Jose Luis, for being here with me, and all those who jumped in and had to leave. No problem. I'm sure
Thank
you'll be
you.
watching this program for sure more than once. I'm sorry. This has been Healing Arts Academy, my way, where we explore things with a little twist. This is Ariel Zvi saying thank you so much. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.